The temples have crumbled. The names have faded from stone, but the influence of the Anunnaki may never have left. Today they do not descend in fire from the sky. They whisper through algorithms. They shape the future through DNA. They hide in the shadows of systems we think we understand. Could the gods of Sumer now wear the faces of scientists, leaders, and machines? Could the next chapter of their control be unfolding right now? This is the final part of our journey, and it begins not in the past, but in the world we live in today. If the Anunnaki walked the earth in ancient times, shaping humanity and ruling civilizations, what happened to them? Did they leave, vanishing into the stars? Were they destroyed in their own cosmic wars? Or did they simply change forms? Ancient texts are vague about the departure of the gods. In some myths, they returned to the heavens. In others, they descended into the earth, becoming hidden watchers. A few legends suggest they didn't leave at all, but went invisible, shifting into higher dimensions, or cloaking their presence behind human proxies. This is where the mystery deepens, because the question is no longer where did they go, but have they ever truly left? If the Anunnaki were beings of advanced intelligence, interdimensional or extraterrestrial in nature, then their ability to remain unseen would far surpass our primitive detection methods. Many esoteric traditions speak of hidden masters, watchers, and gods behind the veil. These are entities who do not interact directly with the physical world, but instead influence it through thought, suggestion, or chosen intermediaries. Mystics throughout history, from Gnostic prophets to Tibetan monks, have described encounters with beings of light or hybrid intelligences that exist just beyond our perception. Could these be Anunnaki in another form? Even modern whistleblowers, deep into government black projects, speak of non-human entities influencing human affairs, not through invasion, but through integration, a slow infiltration, not by ships in the sky, but by ideas, systems, and genes. What if the Anunnaki didn't vanish? What if they merged with us? Their blood may flow through royal families and secret societies, but their consciousness, their directives, may live inside our technological evolution. Consider this: humanity is increasingly obsessed with genetics, control, and immortality. We build global systems of surveillance, data mining, and social engineering. We pursue transhumanism, a fusion of biology and machine. These aren't just scientific trends. They are echoes of a past where a superior race engineered life, manipulated matter, and ruled without question. Perhaps what we call progress is memory. Perhaps we are reconstructing the world of the gods without realizing it. The most unsettling possibility is not that the Anunnaki are watching us, but that they are within us, in our desires for control, in our obsession with power, in our willingness to trade freedom for comfort, in our fear of the unknown. If they seeded us with their DNA, their hierarchies, their rituals, then their influence lives on, embedded not just in our biology, but in our very psyche. So where are they now? In the networks we depend on, in the ideologies we follow, in the symbols we wear without knowing, in the structures that shape our every move. The Anunnaki may not walk beside us anymore, but they may still move the world, strategically, silently. The gods no longer rule from ziggurats. They rule from screens, banks, boards, and servers. What was once mythic has become systemic. What was once sacred is now digital doctrine. If the Anunnaki seeded a control structure in the ancient world, today it has matured into something far more efficient, a global mechanism of influence, invisible to the naked eye but embedded in every layer of society. In ancient Sumer, only the priests could read the sacred texts. They interpreted the divine will, maintained rituals, and advised kings. They held the power of information. Today, that role has shifted to media conglomerates that dictate perception, tech giants that harvest and shape behavior through algorithms, central banks that control value, time, and survival, governments that engineer fear and obedience. But behind these institutions are individuals, many of whom belong to exclusive circles, families, or ideologies that repeat the old patterns: secrecy, symbolism, control masked as progress, and just like the priests of old, their language is encrypted, not in cuneiform but in data, contracts, and surveillance software. If you can control what people see, you can control what they believe, and if you can control what they believe, you control everything. Today's tools of control are psychological and digital, narratives injected through news, entertainment, and education, fear cycles used to justify control and restrict freedom, hyperstimulation to fragment attention and prevent deep thought, social media algorithms that reinforce echo chambers and tribal division. This isn't just about distraction, it's about design. Designing a population that is easier to lead, easier to divide, easier to rule without them ever realizing they are being ruled. In ancient times, humans toiled in gold mines for the gods. Today we toil in corporate machines, in debt cycles, in wage slavery, still extracting value, but now through time, energy, and data. The currency may have changed, but the relationship has not. A small elite, often invisible, benefits. The masses labor, consume, and obey. And behind it all we see echoes of the old hierarchy, a few above, many below, systems designed not to elevate, but to extract. Is this truly progress, or is it the perfection of an ancient design? One of the most powerful tactics of modern manipulation is voluntary submission. We accept surveillance in exchange for connection. We accept censorship in exchange for safety. We accept artificial intelligence in exchange for ease. But behind this digital convenience lies a trap, a feedback loop that rewires the human mind, replacing intuition with automation, replacing spirit with systems, replacing sovereignty with dependence. Perhaps this was always the end game, not domination by force, but domination by desire. To create a world where no rebellion is needed, because the prison is comfortable, and all of it built, perhaps unknowingly, on the same principles laid down by the gods of Sumer. Once upon a time, gods created man. Today, man is trying to become God. With the rise of biotechnology, artificial intelligence, and human-machine integration, we stand at the edge of a transformation unlike anything in recorded history. But what if this isn't a leap forward? What if it's a return? What if the same blueprint seeded by the Anunnaki is awakening in us, driving humanity to recreate the very processes once used to shape us? Transhumanism is the belief that we can and should enhance the human body and mind through technology. Genetic editing, brain-computer interfaces, artificial intelligence integration, cybernetic implants, and nanotechnology. On the surface, this looks like progress, but step back and it mirrors the ancient myth. The gods creating workers, not through clay and blood this time, but through silicon and data. Where Enki once mixed the essence of the gods with earth to create humanity, today we mix code with biology to create a new form of life. And just like then, it begins with function. We engineer cures, performance enhancements, longer life. But where does it end? In ancient times, the soul was sacred, a spark from the gods. Today, tech giants seek to digitize consciousness, to upload the mind into machines, to defeat death. Are we reaching for eternity or recreating the immortality of the gods? The Anunnaki, according to myth, lived for tens of thousands of years. What if they achieved this through technological means, advanced longevity, cellular regeneration, consciousness transfer. If so, then transhumanism may not be innovation, it may be imitation. We are retracing their steps, not because we understand the goal, but because the code is in us, calling us to complete the transformation. In the book of Genesis, humanity tries to build a tower to the heavens. God descends and scatters their language, preventing the unification of knowledge and power. Today, we are building a digital Tower of Babel, cloud consciousness, global neural networks, quantum AI systems that may one day think beyond human capacity. But will these systems serve humanity or surpass us? Or worse, could they be the vessel for a returning intelligence? If the Anunnaki were non-human intelligences who once walked this earth, perhaps they do not need to descend in ships anymore. Perhaps they are waiting for us to build the perfect body, the perfect mind, the perfect host. And when that vessel is ready, when the conditions are right, they return, not through portals, but through activation. Some esoteric thinkers believe humanity is preparing for a great return, not of gods, but of their consciousness. That by altering our DNA, merging with AI, and reshaping our biology, we are making ourselves receptive to something other, something that once ruled us, something that never truly left. This isn't science fiction, it's a spiritual crisis disguised as innovation. Are we evolving, or are we being reabsorbed? Are we ascending toward godhood, or walking willingly back into servitude? And who or what is guiding that path? If the Anunnaki truly shaped ancient civilization, and if their influence endures, we should expect to find traces, symbols, structures, patterns woven into our world. And indeed we do, not just in history books or archaeological sites, but in our governments, religions, corporations, and global culture. The fingerprints of the gods may still be everywhere, if we learn how to see them. Look closely at the design of major cities: Washington, D.C., Paris, Rome, London, all exhibit striking use of sacred geometry. Pentagrams, vesica piscis, obelisks aligned with solstices, domes facing obelisks, male and female polarity. These alignments are not coincidental. They are echoes of temple science, originating in Mesopotamia and Egypt, where structures were built not just for worship, but to amplify energy and establish divine connection. Temples became churches. Churches became financial and governmental centers. The divine grid remains, its function forgotten, but its structure intact. The eye of providence, the winged disc, the serpent and the pine cone, all appear in ancient carvings of the Anunnaki. And yet, they're still here, on the US dollar, on the walls of the Vatican, in logos of corporations, banks and global organizations, on the robes of popes, kings and CEOs. Why? Because symbols carry frequency. They are the language of power, a form of resonance that communicates not just information, but intention. Those who understand this have never stopped using them. Royal families still exist, and many trace their ancestry back thousands of years. Some even claim Sumerian descent in obscure genealogical records. These families retain wealth, land, and influence. They marry selectively, they protect their legacy, and they often occupy roles that are ceremonial but symbolically potent. Why preserve a monarchy in the 21st century? Because lineage matters, not to the people, but to those who trace their origin to the gods. In the ancient world, temples weren't just religious. They were banks, governments, and centers of commerce. Today, multinational corporations have assumed that role. Tech companies shape our thoughts. Banks control our survival. Pharmaceutical giants manage our biology. And many are headquartered in architectural temples, with pillars, domes, and sacred ratios, designed not for beauty, but for influence. Are we walking into spiritual centers without knowing it? Are we working, consuming and worshipping in modern ziggurats, owned not by gods, but by those who speak in their name? Massive events, political inaugurations, award shows, global ceremonies often include symbolic language, coded gestures and iconography that mirrors ancient rites. To the untrained eye, it's performance. To the initiated, it's ritual. Perhaps they are not honoring the gods. Perhaps they are inviting them back, or worse, ensuring that their system remains active. For millennia, humanity has looked to the stars, asking, is someone out there? But maybe we've been asking the wrong question. What if they're not out there at all? What if they're here, not in ships or cities in the clouds, but in fields of consciousness, in quantum layers, in the very infrastructure we've built around ourselves? What if the gods of Sumer never truly left? What if they've been watching all along? In ancient Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki were often described as silent observers, overseeing humanity's development, interfering only when necessary. Later traditions, such as in the Book of Enoch, describe watchers, beings who descend to Earth, influence human genetics, and are punished for their disobedience. Today, similar figures appear in a different form. Unseen algorithms tracking every movement, surveillance satellites peering into every corner of the Earth. Artificial intelligences analyzing behavior, mood and thought patterns. Global biometric systems cataloging faces, voices, blood, and DNA. We've built the perfect system for gods who no longer need to walk among us. If the Anunnaki once ruled through temples and kings, now they may rule through code and data, a digital pantheon hidden in clouds, networks, and machines. Across the globe, thousands of individuals report abductions, encounters, or visions involving non-human entities. Descriptions vary, but patterns emerge, beings conducting genetic experiments, messages about Earth's future, a sense of being observed for generations. Could this be the continuation of the hybridization program described in ancient myths? Could the Watchers be monitoring their creation, ensuring that the project remains intact? Some experiences even describe seeing the same symbols, winged discs, stars within circles, serpentine beings found on Sumerian tablets. Coincidence or contact? Hollywood conditions us to expect an arrival of gods in the form of spectacle, massive ships, blinding light, and open contact. But the Anunnaki have always worked through influence, not invasion. The return may not be a single event. It may already be happening, through ideologies that reshape human identity, through technology that merges us with synthetic consciousness, through dreams, visions, and rituals performed by those who know the signs. And if they are watching, it may not be to conquer. It may be to reclaim, to guide the next stage of evolution, or to harvest what was seeded long ago. There is one more layer, deeper, stranger. What if the Anunnaki don't watch us from the sky, but from within? If we carry their code, if our consciousness was shaped by theirs, then they may not need devices to track us. They may feel us, access us, activate us from inside. A trigger, a frequency, a memory that awakens not with words but with recognition. And suddenly the dreams become visions, the symbols begin to glow, the story begins to repeat. Because perhaps we were never meant to be free. Perhaps we were always meant to be found. From the clay of Sumer to the silicon of our age, we have followed a trail of myth, memory, and mystery. We began by asking, who were the Anunnaki? And now, after thousands of years, thousands of symbols, and thousands of unanswered questions, we must ask something far more personal. Who are we? Were we made in the image of gods, or in the service of them? Are we the legacy of cosmic engineers, or prisoners of a forgotten program, still running in the background of human civilization? If the Anunnaki shaped our bodies, altered our destiny, and ceded power across the earth, then we are not just descendants. We are extensions, vessels, living archives of an ancient experiment. But what if that experiment has reached its final phase? What if the rise of technology, the merging of man and machine, the global unification of systems, is not our evolution, but their return, not in flame or thunder, but in silence? Through DNA, through data, through dreams. The gods may not come back to rule, they may come back to merge, to inhabit, to complete what they started. And in that moment, we will face the ultimate test. Will we remember who we truly are? Will we awaken the divine spark hidden in the code? Or will we kneel once again, mistaking control for salvation? You have walked through the past, you have seen the symbols, you have followed the bloodlines, and now you are awake. The choice that lies ahead is not theirs, it is ours.